We're going to go through a content system that I call the Instant Deal Masterclass, Deal Page Masterclass, I should say. Let's take a look here, y'all. What we're going to go through today is what I call the Instant Deal Page Masterclass, right? So, what are we going to talk about? Something that's very interesting that I've seen a lot of folks go through is, hey, what content do I send and when? What when do I send a particular piece of content in my deal cycles? What should I send to keep the deal momentum going? We're going to go through a three-part framework here to think about it into what we've had go through distribute, creating these instant deal pages here in the past. What are people doing to actually keep that momentum? Right. So that in itself, we've probably had about $500 million in deals run through our actual product. We've got about 5,000 plus pages run through it today. So we're going to go through exactly what are people doing that's working. Okay. So some good insights here for everyone that's also going to be listening here on the YouTube here. But a couple of things we're going to start with. Part one, the instant authority method. So first 24 hours after your call, right? What are most people doing today? They're sending notes, a deck, hoping people read it, pray they share it internally, and hope you get a deal done. Is this familiar to anyone here? Maybe. Yes. Vieta, Kevin, Handala, I'm guessing it probably is. All right. Traditional way, this is what most people are doing, right? Now, what's the deal momentum way? We're going to go through that here, which is going to be how do we create an instant deal page that positions you as the only logical choice? All right. We're going to give you an exact template here. That template's going to go through a few different sections that we'll talk about, but a hero section, recap that sells, social proof injection, and then next step accelerator, right? So that is something that we're going to talk about there. All right. Next thing is champion arsenal. So how do we arm the people we're selling to for an internal battle? That's something that a lot of people get wrong today, right? Is they think, oh, you know what? I'm going to share this vanilla white paper and hope that my champion internally can talk about our product and get the deal done. They're not experts in your product, right? None of these champions are experts in your product. They probably have no idea really how to talk about it. So how do you arm them with the right material that they can use to pass to their boss, to pass internally, to help you create that political campaign internally or that internal battle to get a deal done? Put in the chat, how are you guys arming your champions today? Are you doing anything today to arm your champions? Francisco, Bieta, Kevin, Hanzala? Put in the chat, are you doing anything today, creating any type of material? We'll give everyone a second here. Not really. Okay, that's a good answer. Most people are. You're not alone, Kevin. All right. So, what are we going to go through here today? We're going to talk about the 5 documents that they actually need. All right. The one-page business case, an ROI calculator, the risk mitigation plan, the implementation roadmap, and the stakeholder cheat sheet. All right. So, we're going to go through that in part 2 today. And again, we run this internally at Distributor with our team, with our deals. This is what we help basically companies implement within their organizations as well. All right. Part 3, how do we create urgency without being pushy, without being salesy, right? That's the idea there on what we're going to be doing here. So the big thing that I want everyone here to understand is people don't buy when they understand, they buy when they feel understood. Okay. We're going to talk about how do we create that momentum multiplier here. All right. So let's talk about the discovery demo stage. So that first call, we've talked a little bit about this, right? Which is how do we lock in that momentum within the first 48 hours? And I still need to go get this graph, but it shows people's willingness to actually go through and push through for a solution within 48 hours just drops so dramatically. And so what we're going to do is talk about how do we actually lock in deal momentum? Okay. And just like with LinkedIn content, the thing that I like to talk about is how do we actually maximize credibility for our deals of what your company does, of what you do. If you're a coach, if you're an account executive, if you're a freelancer, if you're whatever it is you are doing, right? What is it? How do we provide credibility? Okay. So one template that we always like to send is we like to give people credibility, right? And here's something that we use. And again, I'm going to give you all the templates for this. They're all within Distribute as well. So if you use Distribute, you can go find them there, but we're going to give you these here. All right. So first thing, the instant credibility page, right? Magnetic headline, the I was listening recap. So what you're solving, why it matters, your unique insight. Okay. What do you know that most people don't know? And how can they rely on you to help execute on that problem? Okay. The unique insight that you grabbed from their situation on why you are the one to actually help them get from A to Z or A to B. All right. Section 3. Here's something that we use on an instant credibility one pager, right? Or instant deal page. The others like you proof, right? This is leveraging some FOMO, right? And this is almost like a case study. So what we do here is we talk about, hey, similar company faces the exact same challenge. Here's how we helped them. All right. Again, we're talking about the instant credibility page here, y'all. Just we're going through this quickly because I know we only have 30 minutes, but we're going to give you all the templates for this. They're all in Distribute. So if you signed up for that, then you'll see them all in there. But next thing here, section 4, the clear next step. All right. Which is your pre-demo homework. So makes them invest. All right. So you have that first discovery call. Maybe your next call is a demo. You have that follow-up call, right? What you can do here is actually do almost a litmus test to see, hey, here's what you mentioned. Here's a scorecard, right? And then here's our deep dive, right? And then giving them the next step there. Okay. So first thing here, all right, you have that first call. Just to reiterate this, because what we want to talk about is we want to give them credibility on why we are the right person to help them succeed. Okay. Maybe we mention it on the call, right? But again, how often do people forget right after that first call? Very freaking quickly. Okay. So just something to keep in mind there. All right. Next thing we do here is that post demo momentum page. So some of you might not do like a first call and then a demo. That's okay. So there's different ways to like skin this cat here. If you're not following the same process, that is totally okay. But this gives you some different ideas. Maybe you combined your first call with your demo call, right? Maybe that's something that you do in that type of situation. All right. And y'all, what I'm teaching you here, the goal, and I like to get back to this because of my OCD, is how do we help create content that helps sell, right? And most people think to have a first call, they're going to get a deal done. That it maybe used to work, but I would tell you it never works, especially if you're selling to B2B with multiple stakeholders. So let me ask you all this. How many stakeholders are typically involved in the deals you sell? Francisco, Bieda, Kevin, Steve, Hanzala, put in the chat there. How many stakeholders are typically involved? 5. Whoa. Okay. So Kevin, you get at least 5. Yeah, exactly. Cool. Kevin, how about you? Oh, you were the first one. Steve, how about you? I'm sorry. Depends. All right. What we're starting to see, y'all, in the market, you used to be able to sell to one person. They had the budget. They can buy things, right? Here's an insight for y'all. What's actually changed is that number of stakeholders is continuously increasing in size, right? It's no longer you're just selling to the sales leader or the engineering leader or the business owner. You're actually selling to more of a committee. And so if you're selling to a committee, how do we basically help create content, right? Or pieces of information that are going to help you amplify or get more deal momentum. That's the goal. Okay. And this is becoming more and more prominent. This is actually why we built Distribute. All right. So next thing here, I want to tell you guys about the post demo momentum page. All right. This is something that we'll do post like demo recording, right? We just go through, we give basically a 4-minute version that they could share with their team, integrations, pricing, ROI. And then what we'll do is what I call the aha moment amplifier and talk about here like a specific pain and really dig into that got everyone's attention. So there's probably that one 10x feature, that 10x part of your service that most people are actually like, oh, that's super interesting. For us, it's instantly following up within 30 seconds. That's the aha moment, right? When we show that, people go, oh my God, you write my follow-up email for me. You create the content for me that helps me close deals. Great, right? And so that's one thing that we'll actually help create for our champion right? So that they can share internally. The other thing that I'll do is share with our champion questions that the rest of the stakeholders are going to ask, right? If you know IT is going to be involved, you probably know the exact questions that IT is going to ask. If legal is going to get involved, if engineering is going to get involved, if sales enablement is going to get involved, right? Whatever those are, how do we actually help your champion get ahead of those questions? That is the goal, right? And so what we'll do is actually include a skeptic, what I call the skeptic converter, because the first thing that finance is going to say is, what's the ROI? We don't need another tool. IT is going to say, I don't know. We already have 50 tools. We don't need to integrate anything else. Legal is going to say, I don't know about AI right now. AI is, we're scared of what to do with all these AI tools, right? So these are the exact templates. And again, they're in distribute here. We'll also send them out after the call here, but these will help y'all actually in that discovery demo stage. All right. So just a couple different templates there that we're sending out here that we're helping clients actually send as well. Now, the business case stage, you might have a discovery call, you might have a demo call, then you have a third call, right? You're getting deep, you're getting some momentum, and you're saying like, oh my God, this is actually getting some traction, right? What do we now send? What do we think about? And here's a fact that based on some data that we've looked at, right, is 73% of deals today have 11 plus stakeholders. Okay. That's crazy, y'all. Right. And your champion maybe talks to 3. This is anecdotally, right? But if you have 11 stakeholders, that's crazy. How do you, no pun intended, get them on the same page? How do you get them all to understand what it is you're doing, how you're going to help, all that fun stuff? Now, here, this is something that I love to use, which is that executive briefing. And I'll give y'all an example of actually a situation I'm in now. I just got an email this morning. We had a champion that was at another company, left, is now at a new company, wants to bring us in. And it's a VP of sales. And now he's trying to get a CEO to sign off on the approval. The CEO goes, I don't know if prospects are really going to engage on this page, right? Are they actually going to click the link and view these pages we're getting? And so what are we thinking? We need to create an executive briefing. It's more about just creating the page. It's creating a structured process for what you send your prospects, when you send it to your prospects, know and understand what your team is actually sending to help move the deal, give them a place to consolidate all their content. There's just so much more there than saying, oh, hey, it's a document, right, with a way to see like content. We're at that stage. And so what are we going to do? We're going to actually create this executive briefing so that my champion can forward it to his boss, right? To help them understand this is more than just creating like another document, right? This is actually a way to help you keep deal momentum going and creating the right things at the right time for the right person. Okay. So I'll stop here, y'all. Thumbs up. Is this helpful? I just want to get, is this helpful here? How are we feeling right now? Kevin, give me a heart. Love it, Kevin. There we go. Steve, how are we feeling? Francisco, useful. Steve, thumbs up. Okay, great, great. And hopefully I like to give you guys very tactical things and give you the sauce versus be all fluffy and be like, oh yeah, psychology. We do involve that, but here's the exact stuff that we see a lot of people using. So we have thousands of pages created per month, I should say. And we actually look at all that and see what people are creating that helps them move the needle. Okay. So a couple things here. Next part, template 4, CFO calculator. Now, when we're looking at the CFO calculator, are the results going to be exact? Probably not, right? Can we predict the future and put an actual cent to how we're going to help? No, what I like to do is keep it very simple. Now, the thing on the year 1 investment versus return, and this is nothing new, y'all. A lot of people like to create very complicated calculators. We keep it very freaking simple, right? We say, hey, your investment's this, you're going to save this, or you're going to make this, or we're going to reduce risk by this much. Okay. Because every CFO, everyone that's making the decision, signing off, what are they thinking? How's this going to make me money or save me money? But at the end of the day, that's still making money, because if you're saving money, you're making money, right? So that is essentially what we're focused on, that calculator. This is nothing new. This is something some people say, oh, ROI calculators are bogus. No, trust me, when you're talking to someone who's living in spreadsheets all day, they're going to want to know this, or at least have an idea of where it is you're moving the needle. It's also a forcing function for you to help actually create basically a logical discussion on what part of the business you're going to actually help create a return on, right? Or a cost savings on. Okay. So it's not just fluffy. Hey, we're going to do leadership training and we're going to make your leaders better. Okay. How are we going to measure the return on that? What needle are we moving? Oh, we need to hire less leaders. So that's going to be cost savings because our current leaders are better. Great. So you can see we're actually getting down to the nitty gritty of quantifying our investment, especially if we're not selling something that's a very objective. Hey, you spend $1 and then you make $1.50, right? If it's not that objective and hard to do, this is once again going to be a forcing function of how we help move that needle. All right. Now, the champion enablement kit. I have a quick email template here that you can share. This is super simple. There's actually, excuse me, a champion enablement kit that we use that has a lot more than just the email template. It has all of this stuff pretty much combined, how to handle objections, how to talk about it internally, all that fun stuff. But I did include a quick email template for their boss here that they can use in Slack and all that fun stuff. All right. Now, this is the fun part. You're in the last 10% of the deal. What are we selling? All right. Final push, urgency without desperation. This is something I like to talk about with my team constantly. Okay, we're getting farther in the deal. What are people wanting to know? I call this the compelling event page. And this essentially related on ROI calculator. But what we're talking about here is the opportunity cost, right? Creating a compelling event. Hey, you are trying to hit this marker by this date. If we don't use a solution like what we provide, here's lost productivity, missed revenue, why we're not going to hit that specific metric. So what you're actually doing here, again, a forcing function to you to get into the numbers, because I will tell you, a lot of people, the mistake that I see, even with my team, is they go, we won't get to the numbers till later, or when they ask about it. And then at the end of the deal, they're rushing and scrambling and figuring out like, hey, how do we prove the ROI here? Now, the way to think about this is in the closing stage. If we have thought about that before and created this before, when we get to that final kind of last mile, we're going to be ahead of them going, hey, I really need to see like what the ROI of this is going to be because my CFO doesn't want to buy another tool. Has anyone ever experienced that? The last mile, you get an exec involved. Oh my gosh, this isn't helping. Or, oh my gosh, look, everyone's in, but our CFOs, I don't see the ROI here. So what I'm pushing y'all to do is really get to that early. And then lastly, here what we'll do is that implementation calendar so that we can help them visualize once we get started, what is that going to look like for us to get in, help you increase productivity by 10%, decrease cost by XML, make your deal cycles faster than 20% or 20% faster by X date, give us 3 months and we'll help you do it. What does that look like? And so what we'll do is also put that together for them so that they can say, hey, this week we'll do this week we'll do this. And it gives them that clear picture across from A to Z of what that's going to look like. And then finally, here's what we like to do. Now, I'm more soft about it. This is more of just an example, y'all, but a couple of things that we'll do in order to get things signed by a different date, right? We'll cut the cost of implementation, which for, let's say it's $1,500 for smaller companies, right? If we can get something done by a certain date, we'll give them more priority support, right? We'll do an executive business review quarterly, right? If we can get something done by a certain date. So this is something that we'll use as an urgency lever. Now there's a million other ones that you can do, right? But our biggest one that I would say is that implementation accelerator. We don't necessarily accelerate. Why I call it this is because we basically just cut the cost of the implementation. We're going to do it fast and we're going to do it for free. Okay. Big one there that we're using as a lever there in order to get deals done. Okay. Another thing to think about here is a lot of people don't like to charge for implementation. Why not? Okay. most companies that you're selling to, especially if you have 5 stakeholders. So I think Steve said he has 5 stakeholders here. Maybe it was Kevin. If you're selling to 5 stakeholders, that's probably a business that is used to buying technology and is used to seeing implementation fees. Okay. Coaches, if you're doing more solopreneur sales, this might be a little bit different, but definitely something to think about there versus just a retainer, right? A lot of people are doing this right now. They call it a setup fee, right? So implementation, setup fee, all that fun stuff there. Okay. So y'all, we have about 7 minutes here. Couple things that I want you to go through here. Your 30-day deal momentum transformation, right? How do we implement this stuff? I'm going to give you the templates. They're in Distribute here. Implementation blueprint. What I like to do is you don't need to do all this today, right? Couple things you can start doing. Day 1, 2, get in Distribute. Start creating your instant deal pages so that you're ready to actually share these in your current deals, right? Start with one deal, test with one deal. Week 2, right? Build your first kind of like flow of all of your instant deal pages. Week 3, optimize them. Are these actually helping us? Are they being forwarded internally? Are my champions saying, hey, this is freaking useful. Can you now give me this? And then week 4, how do we actually push that out to actually all of our deals, not just one deal? Okay. So test with one deal. That's the goal there. That's what I would say to do here. And then in Distribute, here's what we have here. And I just say go get Distribute because it's just the easiest. They're all in there already. But a few different things. Discovery call recap, right? That's one of the templates. Demo follow-up that sells, business case builder, ROI calculator, implementation roadmap, all that fun stuff. Here, Kevin, I'll go here. There's the website, and then just click create account there. Distribute.so there. All right. Couple other things here, y'all. Implementation roadmap, competitive comparison, champion email templates, exec summary, urgency creator, and multi-thread master map. All right. These we created last month alone over 5,000 pages in the system. We looked at what was opened and clicked, and they all fall into one of these 10 categories. Okay. This is what people are using today to get deals done. See, that's the big insight for y'all on this call. Like it's basically a series of these 10, right? We put some fun names against them, of course, but this is essentially what people are doing. The pros, right? The elite sellers to actually move the needle forward and look like, holy shit, these people have their stuff together. Okay. Go get and distribute, do that, distribute that. And I like to give y'all your next move, right? The 97% path. You might think this is interesting. You'll save the templates for later. But the 3% path, what winners do here, y'all, I promise you, this is going to be super duper helpful for all of those deals that you're working today. At least starting with one deal, as I mentioned, get that instant deal page created for one deal and start collaborating with those buyers to actually make that deal happen. And let's say you start making this content. They don't collaborate with you. They're probably not a great champion. All right. So that's that, y'all. Wanted to give you essentially that flow there, all the templates that you should be using today to help move deals forward. I'll open it up to questions here. Any questions from the group that we have today? Any questions? And we'll give everyone a second here. None. Thank you, Kevin. Great, y'all. Last thing I want to ask, useful session here. Did this kind of give you some good insights? Did it change the way you're thinking about what you should be doing throughout your deals? Yes. Steve is giving the clap. Kevin, yes, that is my goal. If you get one nugget out of today, y'all, my goal for y'all is don't think that your champion is just going to save you automatically. No one's going to save you. Use them, but also arm them with the right material. Right. Francisco, yes, we have a lot of channel partners that use our product. They actually, channel partners will they'll arm their channel partners, like a company that uses channel partners. They'll create pages to arm them with the right information to help sell using Distribute. And Beata, a great question there. Please reach out to me. You guys got my email, Andrew at Distribute. So if you have any questions, but yes, Francisco, huge for channel partners. Actually, we actually need to target those companies more that do some channel partnerships, but we have about 2 or 3 off the top of my head companies using us that actually arm their companies that arm their partnership sellers with material. All right. So if anything today, y'all, last thing, use content to help you sell like crazy. Okay. Arm them with the right material, because don't assume that people you're working with are going to know how to talk about your product and your solution. You're the expert. You know your product. You know how you can help. Right. And why waste your time with your champion and not give them the right material to help them sell internally? Okay. That's it, y'all. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll send out this recording here shortly. I know I have the other recordings to send out too. We've been slacking here lately, but we'll get that stuff out so that you can use. And then I'll actually follow up here with a way to go sign up for Distribute, all that fun stuff, get all those templates so that you can use them today. All right. So good stuff. Thank you, everyone. We'll chat with you soon. If you have any questions, you know where to find me.